welcome to our live Q&A. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name's Charlie. I'm from External Relations at the University of Glasgow. And I am delighted to welcome you to this live session today. I know we have people tuning in from across the world, so welcome, and it's great that you can join us today. We'll be live with you for the next hour or so, so we're hoping to get through as many of your questions as possible. A lot of questions have been pre-submitted, but we'll also be answering questions in the comment section throughout. So if you have any questions throughout the session, please pop them in there, and we've got colleagues answering them throughout the hour as well. So I want to introduce our lovely students who are joining us today. Zainab, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Zainab. I'm from Glasgow and I'm a second year medical student here at the University of Glasgow.
And Ella?
Hello, thank you so much for having us. Thank you for hosting. My name's Ella. I'm a fourth year undergraduate psychology student at the University of Glasgow, about to graduate.
Fantastic. So you'll be with the three of us for the next hour. So I reckon we just get straight into the questions. Okay, so many of you watching today will have received offers to study at the university. So first, congratulations. And you might also be wondering kind of what the next steps are. So I thought it might be worthwhile to kind of chat through kind of the next kind of key dates and what you guys need to kind of be thinking about. So hopefully you can all see the slide there. Over the next few months, you'll be receiving offers kind of from all the universities that you've applied to. And once you've received them, you'll basically need to select your firm and insurance choices. The deadline date will depend when you received your last decisions by. So you can see there on the screen. So it's worth just noting them down so you're aware of those as well. In terms of firm or your first choice and insurance, that's your backup choice, this is not interchangeable. So once you've selected these in, you can't change your mind. These are locked in. That's where you're hoping to kind of go come September. A big thing that I would say is just remember to kind of keep checking that your UCAS Hub account, that's where all the decisions are going to come to, and that's where universities will contact you as well. And the other key thing is kind of just to make sure all your details are up to date so that we can contact you. So emails, phone numbers, all that kind of stuff as well. Kind of related to this, a lot of you will start thinking about accommodation. That's kind of the next process and kind of when you can apply for that. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about accommodation, and then we can get the students to kind of talk about their experiences. So accommodation applications are now officially open. So you can apply to accommodation. The main thing to be aware of is that you can only apply to the University of Glasgow accommodation if you've put them as your firm choice university. In your application, make sure you put in as much information and details, any specific requests or needs that you have, and that way we can then kind of try and sort them out our best we can. You're guaranteed accommodation offer if you put us as your firm choice university, like I said, and get your application in before the deadline, which is the 14th of July. We have a whole range of accommodation available. So there's about 13 different accommodation sites offering a whole range of accommodation options and prices. And they're all within kind of a 10 to 30-minute walk from the campus there. We also have a residence life teams, and they live in the accommodation with you, and they're there 24/7 along with the security teams if you need any kind of support or anything as well. The great thing is all your utilities and Wi-Fi and everything like that is included within that price, along with an amazing off-peak gym membership for the university sport facilities. So you've got no excuse not to go to the gym in that first year of university. I'd really recommend maybe going and looking on the website, looking at all the video tours and kind of getting a feel for each of the accommodation and seeing possibly which one you'd like to stay in. So I'm going to kind of bring in Ella now to kind of talk about your experience kind of finding accommodation and whether you've previously stayed in university accommodation as well.
Yeah, so back in the day, I made a video about accommodation, which some of you who are watching may or may not have seen. And I kind of like walked through a couple of the options, private and university accommodation. In first year, I stayed in private accommodation in Firhill Court, which I think is now associated with the university. And finding it back in the day was really easy. It was the standard process of just applying, what Charlie just talked you through. I think now when it comes to private accommodation, things might be a bit more tricky because there is a slight housing crisis, so there's not as much accommodation available. But I stayed in Furlhill Court, and I wasn't super satisfied with my choice. So I think because of that, I started exploring a lot of other accommodations, and I made a lot of friends in Murano and Queen Margaret Hall residences. So it was actually really cool to kind of get a feel of all of the other ones because I think oftentimes what happens is you kind of land into an accommodation, you really stay there. But I think I got like a really good sense of what it was like to be in the other ones as well. So yeah, what was the second part of the question? Sorry.
It was about if you'd stayed in any university accommodation at all. But if you just know people there, have they had a good experience? Do you know kind of what they, like you said, you've been with Murano and things like that, kind of a bit about that accommodation?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, like I said, I feel like I got quite a good sense of the ones dotted around the university. I would say that Murano is definitely like a hub, like a very big social hub. There's so many students there. I think it's literally called a student village, and that's because that's how it feels. There's like a street right in between all these big blocks, and there's just students, probably like maybe even like 1,000 students living in one area. So there's just so much happening always. It's quite easy to make friends and meet people because everyone's always like intermixing. Yeah, so it's definitely like a very, very social place, and that's also something to keep in mind if you want to focus more on your studies, or you're maybe not that comfortable being in like loud and energetic social environments, because it is quite hard to shut off in Murano. I've heard that as well. And if that's the case, then Queen Margaret Residences is, I think, possibly a better option because it's more toned down. It's still easy to meet people because you're in kind of a student village, but you've often got your own bathroom as well, so there's more privacy. Accommodations are smaller because in Murano you can have up to 8 to 10 people, if I'm not wrong, in one flat, which is quite a lot. And the max in Queen Margaret is about 6. So yeah, it's kind of like I would say there's kind of like a spectrum of like super social to like enjoying your own space more, and there's more than just Queen Margaret and Murano. These are just two of the like biggest ones that I have the most experience with. But yeah, that's what I would say.
That's perfect. And that leads actually really nicely into the next question, which I'm going to bring Zainab in for, about kind of a lot of people asking about being nervous, especially about making new friends and meeting new people. And you kind of touched on that really nicely, Ella, that accommodation's a really good place to kind of do that and meet different people. But Zainab, I was wondering if you could kind of talk about meeting new people and your experiences and kind of where you found those kind of different people.
Yeah, of course. So there's so many ways to meet new people at university, and I think one of the best ways is, first of all, the people who are on your degree, and because obviously you'll have some similar interests, there'll be some similar likes there as well. So I would always say that when you're in classes, always make an effort to get to know people. Maybe stay behind after lectures. It's always great to meet people, and especially when it comes around to exam time, it might be useful to do study groups and things like that. But another way that I found was great to meet people was being parts of clubs and societies. So this year I am part of 3 societies. So I'm part of Rareware Glasgow, which myself and my sister Fatima actually founded. The UG Racing, which is the Formula Student team, which actually won the Formula Student 2022 competition last year, and also the Sign Language Society. So I'll just start off with Rareware and how I think it's a great way to meet people. So I myself was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune condition when I was 15, and it made it really hard to really be myself in school, take part in sports and things that I used to love. So we set up this society, and we actually found out it brought together a whole community of people who are passionate about rare diseases from across the university. And we actually got lots of messages from people saying, thank you for making this society. I felt a bit marginalized, not listened to. So it really helped me not only meet people, but also empower other people who might have been feeling the same way. And you can also find out more about that on our Instagram, which is Rareware Glasgow. And then in first year, I also got involved in UG Racing. So that's a huge society made up of people from all disciplines. So it's not just engineers, it's got people from media marketing, people from literature, people from all degree courses. And what I do in my role is I'm the charity and liaison officer. So this year we're actually supporting the charity MyAware, which supports people like me with myasthenia. And we've raised so far already £350 through things like bake sales, pub quizzes. And it's just really a great way to meet people, because it's great to know people from your degree, but you also need to know people outside of that, because you need to switch off sometimes. And I think that's a great way to do it. And finally, the Sign Language Society runs Zoom lessons, which I think are really accessible, especially if you're not on campus and it's hard to go in all the time. And you've got students who are teaching basic sign language skills, which I think is really important, as it allows you to involve people who might not be able to hear, so people from the DDeaf community. And it's just really a great way to meet new people and find people who also want to learn new skills. So there's amazing ways to meet people at university, and I'm sure that everyone will have a great time when they come.
That's really great. And Ella, have you been part of any clubs or societies, or is it any ones that you've heard of that sound really good? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry. I was saying that I agree with Zainab, and I think that clubs and societies are just like possibly the best way to meet people. And there are just so many of them at Glasgow Uni. Like, if you look through the SRC page, there is probably like hundreds and hundreds of clubs and societies. So if you're wondering or worried about whether there's a place for you or a club for you, I promise you there is. Like, there just will be. So what have I done? In first year, I joined the gymnastics club, having no gymnastics experience, but a few of my friends were joining, and I was like, you know what? I can do a handstand. Why not? So I joined, and it was, I think, probably like the best part of my first year. And I just met so many people, and it was just this amazing little community of friends that, we did so many social activities together, and I learned so many things, and I kind of like, learned how to move my body in a new way, but also learned how to learn about my capacity to make friends. And that was honestly incredible. And as we eased into lockdown, from March onwards, the gymnastics club actually continued to do online workouts and like online socials. And that was such an important part of my kind of lockdown, because I got sent back home and I just had very limited social contact, and it was just so amazing to have them with me still, even though I wasn't there anymore. So I think that's kind of like one aspect of clubs and societies, that like they just provide like this community of friendship and support. And yeah, there's definitely an option for everyone. So after gymnastics, what did I do? I came back to university, and a friend of mine told me about the Salsa and Bachata, the GU Salsa and Bachata Society. And so they're like a dance society, and they get teachers in twice a week, and they teach you either salsa or bachata, which is a different style of Latin dancing. And let me tell you, I fell in love with bachata specifically. I religiously went every week, and I ended up just like not feeling like it was enough. So I started going to like all the classes that were available in the city, that were outside like the society kind of class times. And I think, that's also like another pathway to meet people, because I got so inspired with, dancing with myself, that I was like, oh, this isn't enough. I need to go and like seek out more opportunities. And then when you kind of like step into that world outside of university, you meet people who might not necessarily like come into your bubble, your university bubble usually, which is also really cool. What other societies? So I've been kind of part of the Wild Swimming Society as well, and the Mountaineering Club, and they're also amazing. All the like outdoor sports clubs have a really good community sense to them, and there's always loads and loads of people who go to their socials, and it's a really good atmosphere, and also a really nice way to explore Scotland if you don't come from the UK, or if you don't come from Scotland, and you really just kind of want to like see what's on offer, because there's so much on offer. Then these clubs provide like a really amazing way to just explore in like an accessible way. And I think that's probably all the clubs I've been a part of.
That's a really good range of clubs. That sounds amazing. I want to do it all.
Oh, sorry. One final
yeah.
thing. I don't know how I forgot this, but I've also been part of the Jewish Society since first year, probably most regularly, like throughout my entire university career. And yeah, for Jewish like students coming to university, I think it's also like an incredible place to find a home away from home. I've been with the chaplains of my society like since first year, and they've really, really given me a sense of home, and given me a community of Jewish students to really like connect with, and I've found some of my best friends through that society as well. So yeah, I just wanted to shout out to the
Yeah,
JSOC.
absolutely. I think what's amazing is you can just try everything, can't you? Like you can do it for like a semester or a year, and they're like, okay, on to the next thing now. So that's like all these new skills that you didn't know you had, like you say, like your gymnastics or anything. Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I guess kind of leading on to that is kind of thinking about how you get involved with student life. And it all starts kind of with Freshers Week, and that first week when you've kind of moved into your accommodation and you've moved to Glasgow possibly, and thinking about kind of what Freshers kind of offers and what you can kind of get involved in. And also, guys, if you would recommend going. So I don't know if Zainab, do you want to talk about your experience of Freshers?
Yeah, of course. So at Freshers, there's hundreds of stalls. Every club and society under the sun has a stall, and there's hundreds of freebies. And you can't forget the free pizza, which everybody will doubtless go many times, more than you should go. But all the clubs and societies run like taster sessions. So I remember there's like dodgeball taster sessions, there was football, rugby, and they were all during the day. So say if you were commuting in or you were only there for the day, they were all really accessible to go to. There's also things, so me and my friends went to the Stitch Society taster session, which was really fun because I learned crochet, which was something I'd always wanted to learn and pick up. And it's just really nice to, meet more people again. And there's just so much going on campus. So you've got people running like language sessions, you've got all the religious clubs, the cultural clubs, and then on top of that, usually you've got some academic stalls as well. So I remember for medicine, they actually had a specific day where they had like all the medical support. So the groups that offer, like insurance for medical students, tell you about electives. So there's really something there to try. And I'd really recommend, a lot of people come to university and they're scared saying, oh, I've not tried that before, but I've wanted to try it. I'd say first year is really the time to go for it, because you've got nothing to lose and you might as well, get stuck in uni life.
Absolutely. And Ella, have you got anything to kind of add to that? Did you like Freshers? Did you get your free pizza?
Oh, I got my free pizza. Free pizzas. Yeah, no, I so agree. It's just such a good opportunity to try things because there's so many things to try. I will say that my Freshers Week was a long time ago, but I just remember, I feel like it's just the epitome of the university experience, especially like in the Freshers Fair, where there's just so many students and so many things happening and like so many people to talk to and so many things to try. And like it really, that buzz, that energy, like it really just makes you feel, oh, I'm at university now. Like I've made it, like I'm here. So yeah, 100%. I recommend going to like events on at Freshers Week and Freshers Fair. I will say that it can be a little bit overwhelming. So if there's something that you're particularly interested in, say you're like, oh, I really like the sound of that Wild Swimming Society that you just talked about, mark it down on a little piece of paper, and like, when you get to the Freshers Fair, you can really beeline straight to that stand because there's going to be like hundreds of them around that it might be like, whoa, there's too much going on. But yeah, I really think that like Glasgow does Freshers Week and Freshers Fair really, really well.
And it's nice kind of thing. It's on campus and it's like in the cloisters, and it's a really good way to kind of get a feel for the campus and get lost with everyone else kind of thing when you're walking around and everything, isn't it? It's the vibe and the atmosphere is always so lovely there.
Yeah, it really is.
Kind of like obviously moving on, we have like obviously all these amazing opportunities for people to kind of get involved in. We've also had lots of questions come in about kind of support that's available at the university, and also kind of like making sure that you'll get settled in kind of as smoothly and quickly as possible. And basically at Glasgow, we have such an amazing variety of support, and it's kind of all through the student support services, kind of like a one-stop shop, I guess, kind of for all your support needs. And the great thing about it is that you can kind of use it as much or as little as you want. Like, it's completely accessible if you need it, and if you don't use it, you don't have to use it at all. So we, as you can see from the slide there, we literally have support for everything. Everything from kind of like your peer support, so if you feel more comfortable speaking to other students who've possibly gone through similar process, to the live-in support, like I mentioned on the accommodation slides, and they're current students who actually live in the accommodation with you, and they're there to help you with whatever you kind of need. We also have the counselling and disability services. So again, if you're needing any support from our teams, they're there alongside the interfaith chaplaincies as well. Finally, there's also obviously the careers team, and they're there to help with part-time jobs and internships and things while you're at university. But also they're there to help kind of prepare you for when you graduate and help with interview prep and CV writing and stuff. So as you can see from that slide, there literally is something for everything. I think the main thing to kind of remember, especially coming from school or college, that the main difference at university is that it's down to you guys to access them. So if you're needing that support, you know where they are, you can go out and access them. They're not going to come kind of knocking on your door, kind of checking for you. But as you can see, we have a whole range of support available. And you can go and check out more about that kind of on our website as well. Understandably, we've had quite a lot of questions come in about the kind of the cost of living crisis, and kind of wondering about financial support that's available, especially once you become a University of Glasgow student. So firstly, to point out, as you can see the slide there, Glasgow is actually the world's second most affordable city. So that's amazing, especially as a student on those tight budgets. There's lots of students that also live in Glasgow, so there's always a student discount in shops and restaurants. So it's kind of being savvy with that and making sure kind of you're aware where they are and where you can get them as well. You can see there the approximate cost to kind of live and study in Glasgow. This obviously will depend, varying on your budget and kind of where you decide to shop and how you spend your money and things like that. Well, but it is possible to kind of to live on that tight student budget. There are also lots of scholarships available for students coming to study here at Glasgow. And I would really recommend going and checking out the scholarships database on the website. It's really great because you can basically put in where you're from, what course you're doing, and it'll bring up all the scholarships that you might be eligible for. Some are automatic and some you have to apply for, but kind of all the criteria and information about how much the scholarship is and stuff like that can be found on the website. You can also obviously work while you're at university. I talked about the careers team at the student support services. They offer that job hub where they advertise kind of part-time work and internships and things like that as well. But there's also the SRC who offer kind of an advice centre, and student support officers who are there to kind of help offer advice and guidance kind of in these really challenging times. If you have any worries or problems, go to them, and they're kind of there to kind of support you with that. You can go and look at all the cost of living kind of support on our website as well. So we're going to change the topic a little bit now. And we've had a few questions come in about kind of what university is like compared to school, and kind of how big the transition is and how easy it is to kind of adapt. So I was wondering, Zainab, if you'd like to come in and kind of talk about your experience with that.
Yeah, of course. So I think especially if you're coming to quite a intensive course. So for me, medicine was quite intense going straight in. And I think one of the biggest things was in school, I remember like you'd take notes and you'd get like 10 minutes to copy a slide. But in university, it's all down to you, like whether you attend classes, like what notes you take, what resources you do, whether you follow up. So I think the biggest change from school to uni is the independent learning aspect of it. But I would say, and I still do this, and I'm in second year, is just like try everything. Ask people around you, like how they study, what they use. So there's it can be quite overwhelming because there's so many resources out there. There's so many like YouTube videos, tutorials, websites telling you, oh, you should study like this, you should work like this. But I think uni is all about what works for you. So just keep trying new things, work with other people. And I think a really important thing about going from school to uni is that school is usually you're working to get to where you want to be. And when you're in uni, you should just be proud that you've got there and just really enjoy it. So we were mentioning all the clubs and societies, just like join as many of them as you like, as many as them of you can manage with your uni workload, and just enjoy it, because I think the most important part of uni is meeting new people, because there's so many people out there, people with similar interests, and you should just have fun, but don't be overwhelmed, because I promise you everyone's in the same boat and they're probably feeling the same as you, even if they don't mention it.
That's such good advice. Yeah, really like that. Well done. So I want to kind of talk about like flexible degrees. I've had a few questions coming about this, being like, what is this? Why do we have to do it? So I've got a couple of examples kind of coming up, because it can be a bit confusing, especially if you're coming from outside of Scotland and it's a bit different. And then I'm going to bring Ella in at the end, because she does psychology, which is one of our flexible degrees. So in Scotland, we have this degree structure called a flexible degree structure. And it's basically when you can pick up outside subjects alongside the subject you've applied for in years 1 and years 2. This kind of really allows that really good depth and breadth of study, but it also allows you to kind of double check the course that you've applied for is actually what you want to do kind of for those full 4 years as well. And I've got some examples of kind of what this flexible degree looks like. So this is a flexible degree for an arts degree. And they, as you can see there, they've applied for English literature on their UCAS form. And you can see there in their years 1 and 2 that they've picked up the outside subjects. You basically are trying these out, and then at the end of second year, you then make your decision what your degree is going to be when you graduate. This person has decided to continue with English and drop the other subjects. However, they could have changed their degree and combined English with history, meaning they would have gone from a single honours to a joint honours degree. So you do both subjects. This is an example of a joint degree. So you can see there they've applied for both economics and politics on their UCAS form. And again, they still have a flexible degree. It just means that those 2 subjects have taken up 2 out of 3 of those choices. So again, at the end of your second year, that's when you make your decision of what your degree is going to be. And you can decide to continue both of those subjects into years 3 and 4. When you get into year 4 and you have to write your dissertation, don't worry, you only have to write 1 dissertation in one of these subject areas. You could have also decided to maybe drop one of these subjects. So, for example, just graduate in a degree in politics and study that for those final 2 years as well. My final example is for a science degree. So you can see here, still have that flexibility. The main difference is that in second year, you only continue 2 subjects in that second year as well. It is worth mentioning that the flexible degree structure doesn't apply to professional degrees. So you can see that they're all our professional degrees that we offer. So if you are wanting that flexible degree structure, unfortunately, it doesn't happen with the professional degrees. They are majority accredited, and you can't really pick up outside subjects with them. So it works for our arts degrees, our social science degrees, and our science degrees have that amazing flexible degree structure. And there's lots of really good in-depth videos on our website about that. So go and have a little look if you are a bit confused, kind of how it works. But I wonder, Ella, if you want to talk about kind of your degree and kind of what other subjects you picked up in your first 2 years.
Definitely. Yeah, I think the flexible degree structure is brilliant. In first year, so I applied to do psychology, and I'm still doing psychology at the moment. But in first year, I did philosophy and Spanish. And then in second year, I continued with philosophy, and I took theology as well. But I think, so basically, I had a flexible degree, but I didn't really, I didn't change my course at any point, but I know quite a few of my friends who are now almost graduating with a psychology degree. They came in, say, with history or with philosophy, and then they realized, actually, I don't think this is really for me. And they had the option to be like, oh, I really have been enjoying this course that I picked up as an optional course, and I want to continue with it. And I think that that's just really important, especially because a lot of the courses that you might take at university, you will have never taken at school. I've never taken psychology, or I had never taken it before I came to university, and I was lucky in the sense that like I found my place in psychology, but that's not the case for everyone. So you really, in the same kind of way that we were talking about like clubs and societies, that you get like a taster. Um, First and second year is kind of your chance to get a taster for other courses, and also just a chance to learn some things. That's what kind of university is about as well. Like you just, it's an opportunity to get some like really truly like hands-on, in-depth like knowledge about topics that you might not encounter otherwise. um, so yeah, that was kind of my experience when it came to the flexible degree structure. I really do think it is brilliant, because I have quite a few friends studying like not in Scotland, and you know, they came in with, I'm going to study this, and 3 years down the line, like whether they like it or not, they're graduating with that degree. So I think it's really good that we get the choice and we get like options of, it's kind of like a second check after you've had some like maturity and some experience of like, do you actually want to be doing this? Which is really, really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like you say, you can kind of tailor the degree to kind of the things you're interested in, because you've tried them out and you're like, yes, I know this is what I want to do. This is now my career path. And whether you change or not, at least to say you've got this extra knowledge, which you never know might be useful to kind of down the line as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Fab. So moving on, we've had some questions about kind of travel and Scotland, and how easy it is to kind of get around and things like that as well. So I'm hoping you guys know where Glasgow is. We should have hopefully a slide coming up. There we go. Hopefully it's not a shock to everyone that we're in Scotland. As you have applied, so fingers crossed you know where we are. I just wanted to quickly say that obviously we're based on the west side of Scotland, but it's super easy to kind of, especially if you're coming from the rest of the UK, to get to Scotland. You can kind of see the train and flight times there. We have 2 main train stations in Glasgow, and if you're coming from further afield, we also have airports in Glasgow as well. I don't know, Ella, if you want to kind of talk to us about kind of what it's like to kind of travel around Glasgow and around the rest of Scotland if you're kind of going out exploring.
Definitely. I think in my recent years, I've been doing a lot more exploring around Scotland, which is something that if you're coming to Glasgow, I've been reading a book recently about the West Highland Way, which is a long distance walking route from Glasgow all the way up into the Highlands. And there's a quote in there saying, Glasgow is a good city to get out of, which I think is quite funny, but it's also quite true. I'll first talk about travel within Glasgow, because I think that's really important. Traveling within Glasgow, especially if you're a first year student, meaning you're under 22, is really easy. And this is because there is a Young Scots bus pass, which is essentially like a free bus pass that can take you not only all around Glasgow for free, but all around Scotland for free. So trips that might usually cost like, I don't know, 50 to £100 will be free. Like no costs, nothing, zero. And that's incredible. And I think I took the bus quite a lot in first year, which I have actually heard quite a lot of my friends didn't. And the bus systems are, you know, they're not the most reliable, but they are there, and they go around the entire city. They can take you to the south side, they can take you all around the West End. And if buses aren't your thing, then you can always cycle around. There's quite a lot of little stations with Next bikes, which are these bikes that you can hire also for free as a student. And if that's not your thing, then if you're staying in the West End, a lot of travel around the West End is really easy to do by foot. Most things, kind of when we were talking about accommodation, like most accommodations are about a 20-25 minute walk or even closer from university. And that means that kind of like your uni, your friends will all be within like a 30-minute walking distance. So that's amazing as well. And if you want to kind of like explore a little more, then there's always the subway or the train. The subway, you can't get a discount as a student, but you can get a rail card, which gives you like a third discount as a student. So I would say that Glasgow in and of itself is a really kind of well-connected city. And as a student, you have so many like discounts and free passes that like there's basically no excuse to travel around, to not travel around. And then when it comes to getting outside of Glasgow, like I said, free bus pass can take you all the way up into the Highlands, like 5, 6 hour, 7 journeys you can get for free. And yeah, if you're interested in going on hikes or exploring like the natural area around Glasgow, I would really, really recommend it. The Loch Lomond and the Trossachs is like a national park that's about a 20 to 30-minute drive outside of Glasgow, and it's right next to a train station. And that's kind of like the first stop of natural spaces close to Glasgow. And I'd highly, highly, highly recommend going there. It's really easy to get to, and it's really beautiful. And it's kind of like a little taster of what like the natural land in Scotland looks like. So yeah.
Perfect. You're right. It is a very beautiful country and well worth exploring. Glasgow's a great city, but you're right. Outside Scotland is stunning. Lots of beautiful places to visit.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit about the city. Obviously, you kind of briefly mentioned, obviously, traveling around it. But for those who have never possibly visited Glasgow, what is it like to kind of be a student there? Is it a friendly place to be? Do you have a favourite place that you like to go in the city? Ella, would you like to come in? And then I'll bring Zainab in.
Yeah, Glasgow is so many things. I've been here for 4 years, and I love this place. Like, I just do. And I think the way that I usually describe it to people is that it's just big enough so that you feel like there's always things going on. There's always a little pocket for everyone. There's music, there's cute little cafes, there's great nightlife, but then at the same time there's things that cater to like all types of people. There's like I said, there's like a little pocket for everyone. So it's just big enough to feel like there's always something going on, but at the same time it's just small enough that you feel like you really get a sense for the city. You really like, you can call streets by their name, and you can like really know what people talk about when they say, oh, the West End, oh, the South Side. Like, it just feels like the kind of city that you can really like get familiar with. It's also really student friendly. Like Charlie said, there's loads of student discounts everywhere. And if the city wasn't good enough because of all the live music and the nightlife and the cafes and all of those things that I just said, like I also just said, it's also a great city to get out of. So there's loads of natural spaces to see. And I think that that's actually quite a rare combination, because I don't really know of many cities around the world that have like such an incredible energy within the city, but then also half an hour outside of it is just this incredible landscape with like mountains and lakes and loads of opportunities for people who like surfing or hiking or swimming. So yeah, I'm probably a little bit biased, but I think Glasgow is like a very unique and incredible city, and I don't really know of any other city in the world that's like it.
Absolutely. And Zainab, obviously, I feel like you're going to be more biased because you're from Glasgow. Come on, sell the city to people who've never visited before. Why do you love it so much?
No, like you said, I am definitely very biased to Glasgow, but I think it's rightfully so, because it's actually a really lovely city and everybody's so welcoming. So I know a lot of my friends that have even come from other Scottish cities. They say they just love how welcoming Glasgow is, and no matter where you're from, what language you speak, what your culture is, there's like a little hub for everyone. So you'll definitely find like restaurants of your own culture. You'll find people who speak your language. It's just such a diverse and welcoming city. And if you're walking down the street and you don't know where you are, people are so helpful and they'll just help you around and show you the way. I think that's just one of the lovely things about Glasgow. But also, I just think that, like Ella was saying, there's so much going on, and especially in the West End, you've got hundreds of cafes, small places to visit, and I just really like, on the rare occasions when Glasgow is sunny, you've got the Botanic Gardens, and it's just nice to go there, like between lectures, just like sit on the grass, buy a lunch or whatever you want to bring along, a book, and it's just like really nice to have that space so close to the uni, like literally 10 minutes if even that. And the fact that you've got the like huge spaces to work in, so you've got the JMS and everything all on the uni campus, and then you've got so many cafes if you just take the subway or take the train to the south side, like just within such short distances there's so much to do, and there really is something for everyone.
Absolutely. And that leads us really nicely into kind of the next question that we got asked about. Obviously, the Gilman Hill campus is based in the west end of the city. And like you said, Zainab, like it's really nice kind of its own community outside the main community of the city, isn't it? And lots of really nice little cafes and restaurants and bars. But where is your favorite place to visit on campus? Like the campus is beautiful. If you haven't seen photos of the campus, put it into Google, go on our Instagram account. It's absolutely stunning. Zainab, have you got a favorite place that you like to maybe go and study, or you like to go and kind of wander through if you have a little break in between your studies?
I think people always say this at like Glasgow, the campus is like Hogwarts, but I think if you just want to see how beautiful the campus really is, just go to the cloisters. Like no other university space can boast something like the cloisters, and especially at Christmas when you've got the lights up, it's just really nice. And I just feel like even if you've got nothing to do and you could have been in the uni for like say 5 years, even if you walk around campus, you will undoubtedly find a place you've never seen before. So I just think it's really nice. Like a couple of weeks ago, my sister showed me a space that I'd never seen. She took me to, I'd been to 1A the Square, but she showed me inside and the like the wee cafe. So there's so many places to just like go and work or just like walk around, because it's really like a really beautiful campus, and I think it's one of the most beautiful universities, and everyone at Glasgow is so lucky to be at such a like lovely place to study.
Absolutely. I think the Cloisters is like one of the most Instagrammed places, at least in the UK, if not further afield. So yeah, like the Cloisters into Instagram, especially at Christmas, it is beautiful. And Ella, do you have a favorite place that you like to go as well, or is it equally the Cloisters, or
I will say I love the Cloisters, and like every single time I go onto main campus, like my jaw drops, and it's just like if you're lucky enough to have lectures that are in the main campus, if you get like a break in between, you walk outside and you're like, I cannot believe that this is my university. And I just every single time I have that reaction, like through and through and through. But actually, also it's funny. I have the same little spot. It's like a little cafe in 1A the Square. I think it's just the Starbucks, but it's also just inside. It's just nice and like wood and dark and just really beautiful and nice vibes. So I think currently that's my favorite spot on campus.
I'm exactly the same. I feel the same because I work at the university, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so lucky to work here, because you walk onto campus like, this is my office. Like this is so cool, isn't it? Yeah.
It really is. It really is.
Okay, so we've had some more questions come in, more about kind of like studying abroad and kind of fitting that into the degree. And I thought I might just touch on that quickly. You can see the slide that's just popped up there. The easy answer to can you study abroad is basically yes, absolutely. It's a really great opportunity, and most of our degrees offer a study abroad. It's usually within the third year of your degree. You have the option of either doing it for a semester or for a year. And we have some links with some amazing destinations kind of across the world. I think one of the great things about study abroad, especially kind of in the Scottish universities, but also at Glasgow, is that the study abroad is kind of integrated within your degree. So it means there's no extra tuition fees, and also doesn't extend your degree at all. So basically anything that you do abroad in that year or semester goes toward your final degree. So that's pretty good. And then also you're having this amazing experience, kind of opportunities to travel and kind of experience another culture. And it's all these kind of extracurricular things. We've obviously talked about clubs and societies and volunteering and study abroad. Basically all these extra things just make your CV look incredible for when you are graduating. These are the kind of things that employers are really looking for, basically. And there's a really good database on our website about where you can kind of see all the destinations that you can go to linked with certain subjects as well. So if study abroad is something that you are interested in, go and have a look at our website. There's loads of information on there. If you are doing a professional degree, I think Zainab talked about this earlier, there are electives abroad available as well. So we have a couple more questions left, and then that'll kind of draw us to the end of this live Q&A. Obviously, we've got a lot of offer holders tuning in with us today. And I was just wondering if there's kind of any advice or guidance that you could possibly give before they come and study here at the University of Glasgow that you might want to kind of share with them today? Zainab, I don't know if you want to kind of come in first and kind of talk about that.
Yeah, of course. So I think picking like what universities you want to study at was one of the most difficult decisions I made, and I'm sure it'll be the same for people watching, because you're not only deciding like about the course, you're deciding about like where you want to study, like is that city suited to you? And I think it's really important to remember when you're choosing your the city and what you're firming, don't just look at the course, look at what's available on offer in the city. Is there stuff to do? What really is beyond the degree. And I think I'm not biased here at all, but Glasgow is definitely one of the most well-balanced options in the university choices, because not only have you got amazing degree structures like flexible degrees, or for things like medicine, the opportunity to not only have like one elective but two. There's so much variety in the city itself that you really can't go wrong with Glasgow. I have no regrets about choosing it, because there's so many lovely people, there's so much to do. And I think just for people choosing, it can be a really stressful decision. But if you're thinking Glasgow, you're on the right tracks, and I'd go with it and affirm it.
Absolutely. And Ella?
Yeah, just leading on from that. So assuming that you have chosen to come to Glasgow, and this is going to be your university for the next 4 years, you're in for a wild ride. And this is kind of a running theme that we've had along the whole way. But my advice is try as much as you can. I think this is something that I say quite often, but university is like a comfortable way to get out of your comfort zone. There's so many like structures in place for you to try things and meet new people and really like explore not only like the world around you, but explore yourself and like learn so much about yourself. So just every opportunity that comes your way, just like do your best to take it and really just like take it in stride. And I think that way you'll just get the most out of your university experience, in an academic sense, but also in a social and in a personal sense. And that's kind of my advice. Try as much as you can, because you won't regret it, I promise.
Absolutely. Great advice. Thank you so much, guys. And I think you're right. When you come to university, this is kind of like the only opportunity where you're going to be able to join a random club or society or try a new sport out and, have no regrets kind of by doing that, isn't it? So excellent. And so the last question we have, and I think it might be the hardest question, so good luck to both of you, is basically, what is the best part about being a student at the University of Glasgow? So I'll give you a quick second, and then Zainab, do you want to come in and you can let us know what is your favourite or the best part about being a student here?
I think for me it would be the opportunities to meet new people, and like all the amazing people that you do meet, because it's like, of course I'm from Glasgow, so I knew people coming in, but I think it's that opportunity to meet people from all over the world and from so many different backgrounds, and you learn things that you'd never thought you'd learn. So of course you're learning your degree, but like I'm learning about other people's cultures, I'm learning other skills. Like I would have never been able to learn sign language like in a flexible way. And there's just so many opportunities to meet like-minded people. And I think that opportunity of meeting people who you can like confide in was one of the main reasons I felt comfortable talking about my rare disease, myasthenia gravis, which I would never spoken about in school. And just that sense of community and support around you with all these new amazing people you meet, I think it just makes Glasgow really special. And I think it's something unique to Glasgow, because of course you can meet people everywhere, but I think Glasgow's so diverse and so open and welcoming, and it just feels like home even if you're not from here.
Yeah,
Excellent. And Ella?
Yeah, I think that's really true. And I think like testament to that is that, I'm here and I've been here for the last couple years coming from abroad, and I'm staying. I find like there's no reason for me to leave. I love the city. Best part of being a student at University of Glasgow is kind of being a student at University of Glasgow. Like in and of itself, it's an amazing thing. Being in Glasgow is just like such a joy. I feel like I've learned so much about myself, just being here, and like Zainab said, like meeting the people that I've met and just exploring the city. And if you're coming here, all I can say is, I'm excited for you. And if I could stay for another year or two as a student, like I really, really would. So yeah, good things ahead, I think.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, guys. Such great advice. And yeah, I think you've sold it. Like, I want to come back and be a student here. So thank you so much. Well, that kind of brings us to the end of our live Q&A. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you found it useful, and I hope we've answered some of the questions that that you guys had. Please have a great day, and thank you once again for just joining us, and thank you to Zainab and Ella for joining me today as well. But thank you so much, guys. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
All the best.
Bye, guys.